Okay, tonight we're going to start with our recognition. And for our recognition, I'm going to turn it over to Superintendent Funk.
Sure. So Marie, why don't you come on up. Best, you know what? Let's go up to the front of the room. Okay?
Even better.
We're in a different spot all the time. So anyhow, what I have the great privilege and honor tonight of doing is, now Marie, I've been in the Balkans for a couple of years. Let me see if I get your last name corrected here. I want to announce that Marie Hajdukovic. Hajdukovic. Okay, thank you. All right, so Marie Hajdukovic, who has just started with us in August. I'm happy to announce that Marie Hajdukovic is the media specialist, who's the media specialist at the high school and middle schools, has been named the Library Media Specialist of the Year at the Minnesota Library Association's annual conference. This award is a testament to the instructor's outstanding achievement and her exemplary use of 21st century tools and services to engage students in the world of literature and learning. Congratulations to Marie on this well-deserved recognition. Her passion for nurturing young minds and fostering literacy will undoubtedly continue to make a positive impact for years to come. Congratulations. So, you're new to the district. I'm pretty new to the district. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and
This is my 14th year in education. I was a middle school English and reading intervention teacher for 10 years, and for the last 7, it overlapped a little bit. I have been a secondary media specialist, an elementary media specialist, an elementary technology teacher, and now I'm here, and I live in the district, so it's fun to have the same schedule as my kids for the first time.
That's awesome.
I'm happy to be here.
So one of the things that not everybody's aware of is we didn't have any media specialists at the secondary level until this year. I don't know how long it's been that we've been having it. So, Marie has come in and she's got a challenge, trying to get a handle on what's been happening at the secondary level. But we were very fortunate to hire her, and we were very fortunate for her services in the district, and we're looking for great things moving forward. So I'll turn over the board. Any questions?
Just congratulations. I mean, that's a huge achievement, and we are fortunate to have you in the district. So welcome. And just a question on my end. I mean, what do you love about being a media specialist librarian?
My favorite thing to say is that it's all the good parts of teaching and none of the grading. Because I was an English teacher for 10 years, and there's a lot of paper correcting when you're an English teacher. No scantrons ever. It's always papers. But I get to do all the fun stuff. I get to build relationships with kids. I get to match them with books. I get to teach them new technologies, teach them not to be jerks on the internet. So it's just where I fit.
That's awesome.
It's appropriate that we're in a library and we're surrounded by, we got media going on right now. Right in your territory,
Yeah.
your wills.
Natasha's, but yeah.
Oh.
I'm between two, but this is my house.
She's only got 2, I guess.
So congratulations. This is a really quite an honor. So, I mean, we haven't had a media specialist, and so I'm sure that you've had a chance to assess what are your goals going forward.
I started the year strongly pushing in with teachers and co-teaching, and then I realized I had to step back because no one who is taught how to curate a collection has curated our collections in over 10 years at the secondary level. So I am doing a lot of reading, going through and pulling books that either don't belong in a specific age group or are books published in 1976 about virtual reality or are just in really poor shape. Doing a lot, especially at Oakland, trying to make that space a little more usable because it's the biggest middle school and it's smaller than your average classroom.
Yeah.
So
We were there, and it was crazy.
yeah, just meaning.
Yeah.
Inspiring.
Yeah. Well, thank you for all you're bringing to that, because it's probably a big job.
Huge. Anyone else? Well, again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Welcome to the district, and we look forward to hear from you.
Yeah.
Okay, before we start our meeting, we will have public comment. Let me read the expectations. The school board encourages community input. While comments and questions are welcome, law prohibits the board from discussing concerns about individual employees or students in a public meeting. The board will not deliberate, discuss, or engage in conversation with speakers. However, the board may ask administration to review the concerns presented. Speakers must present their testimony in a respectful manner. Vulgarity, character attacks, malice, or specific complaints identifying staff or students by name or implication will not be permitted. We will stop the proceedings immediately if employee or student privacy issues are raised and direct the speaker to forward comments regarding individual employees or students to the superintendent. Our first speaker tonight is Cliff. Is Cliff here? Hi, Cliff.
Hi.
Well,
Allison, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good, thanks.
Welcome.
All right. So I'm here to talk about the subject of acquiring property and building and renovating schools. To date, my spouse and I have received one piece of mail from the district, essentially announcing multiple projects to build 2 new elementary schools and expand and renovate a middle school. And then secondly, in addition to that, or in that same piece, asking taxpayers to approve bonding authority for those projects. Yes, there was an informational meeting held on October 17th, probably like quite a few other people, we were unable to attend. Because many voters were probably not in attendance, mailing more thorough and detailed information to the taxpayer, I believe, is imperative. In the interest of transparency, I would expect this board to get much more information to the taxpayers. The taxpayer deserves to understand how many parcels of land were considered, which parcels of land were considered, the cost of each parcel of land considered, the plans for properties vacated and whether they would be sold, why building at least one elementary school on a parcel of land adjoining or near Oakland Middle School is not feasible, and a description of why each parcel chosen is the most feasible and provides the most benefit, perhaps something like a pros and cons table. Providing the above information gives the voter a view into the voter's process, the options considered, and the reasons why the desired outcomes are the best choices, the board's desired outcomes. People can then understand that the board's due diligence has been done. So again, I would urge you to get all of this information out to the voter in a mailing. At least that way you know it's in many people's hands rather than just a few who can maybe attend an informational meeting, given everybody's busy schedules. So I guess I'll be attending the November 1st meeting, and possibly there'll be more of what I'm asking for at that meeting. But again, a mailing I think would broadly hit many, many people who are going to be asked to vote on this issue. So thank you for your time, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Cliff. Okay, our next speaker is George Hepner.
George Hepner, Oak Park Heights. At the September 26th board meeting, an open forum speaker invited board members and district citizens to check out 70 books he said were available to District 834 students and were listed on an obscure website as lewd books. Just to clarify, lewd is defined by some as obscene or vulgar. As you might suspect, and as is true for many things, what you think is obscene, I might not. What I think is vulgar, you might not. And to further clarify, before our elementary parents needlessly panic, in District 834's elementary schools, there are a total of 3 titles listed on this obscure lewd list you were encouraged to check out. Let me repeat that. In our 7 elementary schools, there are 3 titles that create problems for a few citizens. In our secondary schools, critically acclaimed books such as I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, Brave New World, The Kite Runner, The House on Mango Street, The Bluest Eye, and Where the Crawdads Sing are some of the so-called lewd books that a few local censors would like removed from our schools. Dashka Slater, who's the author of 9 books and a recent article titled Freedom Readers, said her goals for writing: I want my readers to feel challenged, to find themselves having to balance competing values, to have their certainties assailed by counterexamples, and their empathy drawn in unexpected directions. I suspect our teachers and our media specialists want the same for their students. And hopefully parents want the same for their children as they encourage them to read books and discuss them within their family. Your task as board members in being responsive to the entire community and not any one small faction is to facilitate discussions in and out of the classroom by continuing to allow students access to books. Perhaps then, through reading and talking about books, our students will be challenged, they'll have their values contested, their certainties called into questions, and their empathy expanded. Isn't that really what we want for education? Thank you for your time tonight and your service to our district.
Thank you, George. Our next speaker this evening is Kate Neiman.
Oh, different. Third dimension in here. And I've had 2 knee replacements, so maybe somebody can help me get out of one.
Sure.
Hi, Chairman and Directors and Superintendent Funk. My name is Kate Neiman and I'm from Stillwater Township. In June, you voted to go out for the bond. Your discussion articulated that this ask should be needs-based as opposed to wants. You discussed the idea of an early childhood development center, a facility that could be strategic in strengthening our capture rates, but you deemed it a want and declined to include it on the bond issue. I've written to you several times regarding capture rates. Stonebridge has had declining capture rates for years. When we moved to the district in 2005, its capture rate was like 78%. It's now 63%. Its neighborhood capture rate is 53%. Capture rates are also trending down at Rutherford, Lily Lake, and now Anderson. And they continue to do so despite having an early childhood development center next to the Stillwater Middle School. I was surprised to learn the district wants to purchase 27 extra acres in Lake Elmo for a potential second building, maybe an early childhood development center. Lake Elmo has the second highest capture rate in the district. It's not where we need to be focusing on captures. This property is being purchased at $95,000 per acre. By comparison, land in Stillwater Township sells for $20,000 to $25,000 an acre. Less than a third of what a Lake Elmo landowner can get. I've shared with you the Washington County Assessor's Report. I sent you an email earlier. In it, you can find median property values for each of the communities within our district. This is pertinent because it establishes our property tax rates. Certain communities have long assumed a greater tax burden for our district. In this, I would include Grant, May, and Stillwater Townships. More recently, we've seen an uptick in West Lakeland and Baytown. Interestingly, all of these communities are within school neighborhoods with declines in their capture rates. Therefore, households that are carrying the greatest tax burden with this bond are also the most likely to send their children to schools outside the district. While we are leveraging so much into future growth of the district, we can't fail to address the needs of children and families who are already here. Many of our students and families have lived here for generations, and whose support of this district far exceeds the test of time. We need to start paying attention to their needs too. Thank you. And thank you for your service.
Thank you. Our last speaker tonight is Michael McCarthy.
Sometimes it's good to consider our relationship to government, like the school district. When a majority takes power, like this 100% union-endorsed board has, it's important to watch how you treat students from families holding traditional worldviews and values. How you treat those having belief systems and worldviews that differ from the progressive worldview you embrace is important. Many believe this board and administration guide the conversion of students from traditional homes to embrace the dominant progressive worldview and its racial and sexual dogmas. Let's make some observations. We have a parent who asked for an ethnic studies and related classroom materials, and the school did not even bother asking the person having those materials for 2 years. And that was after Fixing Stillwater Schools filed our formal complaint before the State Office of Administrative Hearings this past July. The administrative law judge there in that proceeding has found probable cause that this school violated the law in its refusal to disclose classroom materials for over 2 years. Part of what has been recently disclosed is posted on mn834.org under Ethnic Studies. That would be this obscure website here mentioned earlier. A hearing was set, then delayed as other procedures were left to unfold. But my point is, why fight so hard to avoid disclosing classroom materials? Why fight so hard to avoid disclosing classroom materials? Then there are the sexually inappropriate and vulgar books you provide to minor boys and girls. Again, go to mn834.org, click on the banner, call Lewd Books, then pick a school on the map and any of the books listed to see what all the fuss is about. And I leave it to you to, again, make your judgment, and I hope you've gone and looked. While the district appears to have removed 2 especially infamous books, Push and Choke, at Stillwater Middle School, girls and boys as young as 10 are still provided adult books like Lovely Bones by Alice Sebold. Too profane and vulgar to read here. See for yourself at mn834.org. At the October 11th Gazette Forum and in last week's Gazette newspaper, we were told, and I quote, "These books just don't fall off a truck. They were put there by our librarian. They are there for a reason." What reason? What reason? Why are you still giving young minors nearly all the books we brought to your attention a month ago? School officials have said in previous board meetings, what we tolerate, we promote. So why hide from parents and the community? Well, secrecy thwarts opposition to what's being promoted. Parents cannot oppose what they can't see. Fixing Stillwater Schools intends to help parents see. School board members, this is on your watch. It's on your watch. Your inaction is informative, your secrecy is illuminating, and your silence speaks loudly. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. All right, with that, public comment is closed. Thank you to the public speakers. And with that, we will call our business meeting to order. Joan, roll call.
Director Roberts. Director Culver.
Here.
Director Lauer.
Here?
Director Petrie.
Here.
Director Corbett. Director Thielander.
Here.
Chair Sherman.
Here.
You have the floor.
Great. Let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Where is the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Great. First item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve tonight's agenda? Great. Director Thielander, is there a second? Great. Director Lauer with the second. All those in favor of approving tonight's agenda, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Agenda approved. All right, we're going to go to our student report. So this is the first time that you've been here. Do you want to introduce yourself? And
Hi, my name is Jenna Phelps. I know Sam has been here. I'm
Yep.
his co-president. I haven't been here. I play varsity soccer at Stillwater, so my practices were typically at 5 p.m. So right at the time you don't want them to be in order to make this. So now that my season's over, I'll be here for the rest of the year.
great, welcome. Very happy to have you and to bring in some of the student perspectives.
Of
so.
course.
Yeah. And you have a report, I think, for us.
Yes,
tonight.
I do. So we're starting off with academics. Students just started office hours again, and office hours, as you all probably know, it just helps students. It gives them time to see teachers, make up tests, and seek help for grades below 70%. And athletics, fall sports are starting to come to an end, but football has its first sections game this Friday, so that's exciting. And student council, we just selected freshmen into our student council. And Sam and I have worked really hard over the summer and during the fall to create Stillwater United Council, which we bring together leaders from the major clubs at Stillwater to talk about different issues, and we help them to help us. We use student council as an umbrella, and we worked really hard to make our Instagram following really big to improve school-wide communication. So allowing them to come to us when they want, they're passionate about something and maybe are doing a fundraiser and want us to post it. And so more people can know about that, and it helps us to help them. So that's what we've been up to.
We love that. That sounds really great.
Mm-hmm.
Any questions for Jenna? I just have one. So is the student office hours, are those still, from what you're hearing, a very valued resource for students?
Yes, for sure. I think anytime most people would make up like tests and stuff during that time, because sometimes you'll miss a day, or sometimes you'll miss a day that's important and you miss a whole lesson that you didn't realize would be super important. So it is. Sometimes I go to just talk to teachers or I'll do test corrections or something like that during that time. It is really valuable.
Great.
I'd say most people, I know a majority of people stay and use
Okay.
that time really valuably.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much. All right, so now we will move to Superintendent Funk's report.
So tonight, first thing I really want to talk about before I even show any slides tonight is, so I'll back up a second. So years ago, I was in graduate school at the University of Minnesota, and my doctoral studies were on school leadership. So I did a lot of research and a lot of literature review of what people want in their leaders. And I heard a few of the comments tonight, so this kind of reverberates with me a little bit here. So the number one thing that people are looking for in their leaders is trust. Someone they can trust. And, as a school superintendent, people have got to be able to trust you because you are responsible for educating their kids. They've got to be able to trust you because, as we heard tonight, I am in a large part responsible for making recommendations to the board about spending tax dollars and impacting the community that way. And so, we heard some comments tonight from folks, and they're very legitimate. And, we want to know that you vetted your options as far as looking at different land purchases. We want to know why you didn't purchase land just south of Oakland Middle School, which, to be honest with you, we've tried. They don't want to sell the land. So we have a lot of people questioning why we're doing what we're doing. And I just want to share, at least initially here, that we have been meeting with local officials since January, talking about different options to build places, and we're trying to do it in the most responsible manner possible. So the other thing that I think that I've heard in the community is, again, it's a concept of trust, or the proof is in the pudding. We're not sure that we really can trust you with our tax dollars because we're not sure about how Stillwater administers our taxes and what we do with our funding for our kids. So I've been a superintendent a very long time, probably longer than the vast majority of the superintendents in Minnesota. And so what I did is I went back to the Department of Education's website and I dug up some information on districts I have led and how we have done financially, particularly with our, go to the other slide first, please. Particularly with our fund balance, how much we have money in reserve. Okay, first chart I want to show you up here is, if you want to just turn around and take a look at this. This is something that an organization, I think Stillwater used to belong to it, called Schools for Equity in Education. And what they do is they track money, and it goes back to 1991-92. The inflation rate, which is the green bar graph there, or graph, that's how much inflation has gone up since 1992. And the blue number, or the blue line, is how much we have received from the state over that same period of time, from 1992 to 2022. So this is a year-old data. But as you can see, school districts have a gap of about $1,600 per student that there's been a shortfall from the state over that period of time. Now, I drew that red line in there because you can see 2005, 2006, that's when I started to become a superintendent. That was my first job as a superintendent. Okay, so since then, the gap has probably grown from that year about $1,000 per pupil. So that's the headwind that I have faced as a superintendent in 3 different school districts now. So go ahead to the next slide. So this is a fund balance comparison. This is really how much money we have in our undesignated fund reserve in the districts I have led since 2005. You can see blue there is Bird Island, Olivia, Lake Lillian. You can see we were, actually, a year before I got there, they were in statutory operating debt. They were below 0.
Wow.
First year they were about 5%, then I got there, they were 12. And then they went to 26, and then we passed an operating referendum because we were looking at declining enrollment, and you can see the chart just shot way up. The orange graph there is Stillwater. Okay, this is the Stillwater fund balance over time. So you can see the first 4 years there of my career I was at Bold, and then it shifts to Albert Lee, which is the gray line there. So in 2009, Stillwater had a pretty healthy fund balance, still of 20-some%, which was higher than my fund balance at Albert Lee. But as you can see over time, Stillwater has gone down, has gone down, has gone down. And if you look at the gray graph, we've gone down a little bit with the headwinds we have faced, but we have still maintained a healthy fund balance year in and year out in the districts that I have led. And so my point tonight is I have 17 years of experience leading districts in lean times when the state has had a huge deficit, and now in not so lean times when the state has a significant surplus. And so when folks are out there in the community saying, well, can we trust what you are going to do with tax dollars, whether it's running the school district or it's a $175 million bond, I think it's like the stock market. Past performance does not indicate future growth. But I think that's a pretty solid indicator of where we're at and why folks can, say, you know what, maybe we can trust what the district is doing here. So a little bit different report tonight, but
Yeah.
that's what
I appreciate that.
Okay.
Any questions for Superintendent Funk? I will say that we were at a community, Andrew and I had the opportunity to attend the first community information session. And so for Andrew and I, this presentation probably makes a lot of sense because that is common themes, transparency, trust. And with you being new, I think this information is helpful for the community to know that we hired you with purpose as a board, and we stand behind your leadership and what you're going to do for our district if given the time to do some amazing things. So, anyone else have a comment? Great. I do not have a report tonight, so we'll do a consent agenda. And that consent agenda is up on the screen. And is there a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda? Dr. Porbeni makes the motion, and is there a second? Great. Dr. Petrie, I'll go with. You're closer. With the second. Okay, all those in favor of approving tonight's consent agenda, raise your hand and say aye. Aye. Opposed? Consent agenda passes. And then tonight we have a pretty lean agenda. We do have a closed session after tonight's meeting, but we're going to go ahead and do the public business of our referendum update. Welcome, Carissa.
Thank you. Good evening, Superintendent Funk, Board Chair Sherman, and members of the board. I'm here for the last time tonight to share an update on our referendum. It's just a couple weeks away from Election Day, so this will be the last report. But as I've done in previous board meetings, I just wanted to share some information related to the bond that's coming up. As a reminder, early voting is still underway, and it's open through November 6th. There's details on how you can vote early on our website at stillwaterschools.org/bond. And of course, you can vote on Election Day, November 7th as well. The bond is proposed to address three main objectives: provide more learning space for our growing enrollment, replace our 100-year-old buildings, and improve safety and security. Tonight we're here in the Media Center at Lake Elmo, so of course we're going to talk about Lake Elmo and what the project is proposed to build a new Lake Elmo Elementary School. Lake Elmo, as you know, was constructed in 1920. It's our second oldest school in the district, and if you walk around at all, you will see that it's also, I think fair to say, the building that's in the most need of improvements and repairs. There's a lot of issues in this building based on its age. It's also been at or near capacity for a very long time. I've been in this district for 15 years as an employee, and since before I even got here, there were conversations about the need to do something with Lake Elmo Elementary School. It's come up on several meetings of community groups coming to look at our facility needs. It's been at the top of the list for a very long time. Lake Elmo is located in the fastest growing city in the state of Minnesota. We're expecting about 200 new students to come into this building over the next, or into this area over the next 10 years. So we definitely need to look at something bigger for our community. New Lake Elmo would allow for increased capacity to not only address that projected growth, but also provide more space for Amigos Unidos. It's our Spanish immersion program that's located here in this building. We've been limited in the number of kids we can accept into that program each year based on space, and it has a waiting list and is definitely a program that could grow if it had room to do so. So I'm going to stop talking and show you a video, because I know you enjoy watching the video, so you can see a little bit about the bond proposal. As a bonus tonight, we actually have another video for you to see. Superintendent Funk spent some time walking around this building, and we have posted some of this out on social media, and I know a few of the board members have commented on how much they've appreciated this tour, so we'll show this as well.
Probably in his pocket for sure, story. I love watching.
We are at Elmo Elementary, and we have one of the original parts of the building. As you can see, we need a little bit of ceiling work here. And following around the corner, we are going to go up the staircase. And the concern with the staircase is that this is the only way that can access the second floor. So anybody with mobility challenges cannot access the second floor of Lake Elmo Elementary. I'm in the former staff lounge here at Lake Elmo Elementary, and we get run out of space. We have converted the lounge early into space for free English language learning teachers to work from. And as you can see around here, we still have the kitchen facility from it, and we've got these draperies out, these curtains that we use to divide the room. And once again, here at Lake Elmo, we are open to every possible piece of the school we can to try and meet the needs of our students. On the theme of space here at Lake Elmo, you can see we have our storage is actually in the hallways because we don't have any storage rooms to put it in, because all of our storage rooms are being used for instruction. So here we are in our band rehearsal room at Lake Elmo Elementary. You want to understand this used to be a bathroom. But continuing with on our needs, our list of space needs, we've converted this into a rehearsal room. Here we are in a room off the media center where our kids are receiving individual instruction from teachers. And you can see we've got multiple kids receiving instruction throughout the room because we don't have the ability to separate the And this is what the inside of a portable looks like. Any idea how long we've had these portables?
Oh my goodness, far longer than I've been here. 10, 15 years
Yeah,
maybe?
I was guessing 15 at least.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about opportunities, cool opportunities for our kids in the district, here's an example of one building using every piece of space that they have because we just don't have the really the room for our students to meet their needs. So this is one of the reasons we're going to the voters on November 7th to provide more space for our students and better learning environment.
Good job.
Thank you. So as we've said before, there's a lot of information on our website. I would encourage people who want to learn more about the bond to go to the stillwaterschools.org/bond. Frequently asked questions have been updated. All of the videos are there, as well as information. There's a tax chart. You can go and find out exactly what the impact would be on your property. And if people have other questions, they're certainly welcome to reach out to us. And we hope everybody gets a chance to vote on November 7th or before. All right. Thank you.
Okay. We need to point out that when your first video opened, there's a picture of the school and then there's houses in the background. I just wanted to go up there and circle and say, these houses don't go here. They go to Rutherford.
That's a very good point, Chris.
So it's just the
Yeah.
crowdedness. I made up a word. Yeah, crowding, yeah, yes.
I was gonna say, there's also houses where the empty field is now, right
That's right.
there. There's also more houses since that last picture was taken, so it's definitely fast growing, so. Because we have you here today, Jenna, I wanted to ask you, what do you think the one project that affects the high school is the really small front entryway?
Mhm.
When you, is the high schools, I mean, do the students talk about that space at all and just kind of the congestion that is there, or?
Yes, I definitely think getting out of school is is everywhere at once. If you've ever heard the nightmare stories about that parking lot, they are all true. It is ridiculous to get out of that parking lot, and at the end of the day, everyone's going out those doors.
Yeah.
And even right before school, people are late or whatever, everyone's going in those stores then. And so it is a congested space.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I can really, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, I'd say it's probably the worst.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. It's good to hear from us, just a student perspective, who you live it every day with everyone else, so.
Mhm, yeah.
But, and then what is the date for the next community information session again?
November 1st.
November
We'll be at
1st
Oakland
at
Middle
Oak-
School on November 1st. I believe it's 6 o'clock. I believe it's 6 o'clock.
Okay.
And that information is on our website as well. And so we invite the community to come, hear a presentation from Superintendent Funk, and be around if there are things they want to talk about. And ultimately, we are trying our best to get information out to people. So encourage them to check out the website, come to those meetings.
Thank you, appreciate it.
We heard public comment earlier, about wanting mailing information? How much, what else has gotten out? I mean, you said you got one piece of mail. Has
Yeah.
there been more? I mean,
So mailing wise, there was one piece that was sent to all of the properties within our school district. So it's a pretty big mailing that went out to everyone. We also have been posting information on our website since this summer. All of our school newsletters have been out. We've had a lot of coverage from local media. Pioneer Press has had several stories. The Gazette's been covering this pretty intensely. We were on a KSTP story 2 weeks ago, I think, included us. So we're definitely out in the media. There was a postcard that was sent to families that have combined polling places, so that information went out too for those who had a different polling location. And then videos and things being shared on social media, so we've been trying to get the word out.
And I've had meetings at Rutherford, Lily Lake, Afton Lakeland, here, so that have been open to the, you know, to the local school communities and parents. So.
And I know you've went to retirement centers.
Yep, I've talked to a lot.
And Rotaries.
And then I've spoken to the chamber, spoke to Rotary, we spoke at Kiwanis. So we're really, I spoke at Woodbury City Hall, I spoke at Hugo City Hall. We had somebody speak at Oak Park Heights City Hall. So we're really doing our darndest to get out and have conversations with folks throughout the community.
Great.
Anyone who's been willing to have Dr. Funk speak has been.
Yes.
We made that offer, so he has been out on the circuit every day. I think you have a couple presentations.
Tomorrow morning, one at 7:15 tomorrow morning, one at 7:45. So, yeah.
I have a quick question, Dad.
Mhm.
So, I've been in the district, or my family's been in the district for almost 20 years now. And Dick Elmo is the school my kids went to. So one of my biggest worries, since I've known Dick Elmo, is the stairs leading to the second floor. One of the things that we talk about is being the safety concerns, with respect to just that hallway alone going up there. It's always been a problem.
Mhm.
It's always been, I mean, I've always thought about that. There's a safety problem, but there's also ADA accessibility concerns. You know, I mean,
100%.
coming out here sometimes volunteer and you see our kids not being able to, it's been a huge, I don't know how they did it, but it's been a huge concern for me for years. So safety and ADA accessibility.
Absolutely, and so they just can't, I mean, kids can't utilize the second floor if there's mobility issues, and that's just how we have to ensure that, you know, what we put on that floor is not something that's gonna be impactful for a student to not be able to do it, so it's been, yeah.
And I would even say, I think I've heard stories where teachers in the building that are upstairs have had to move things in and out of their classroom. You're walking down the stairs carrying everything that you have. I mean, it's just not an ideal from an operation standpoint too. It's just a hard headache for a lot of people. My son went to school here too, so got to see it firsthand. So, but I did not know that the band space, rehearsal space, used to be a bathroom. That I learned, and I believe it. So, okay. Any other questions? I just want to say thank you, Carissa, for coming to all these meetings, speaking on all the different projects. I think that this is another way we do try to educate voters as to everything that's going on, and I know that the FAQ section has been extremely helpful in answering community questions, because people have, you know, maybe they can't attend a meeting, but they can send an email. And so I know a lot of time gets spent from yourself.
Some of the comments we heard tonight were good, and we can put those in
Yes,
the FAQ. So.
absolutely, and I appreciate that, because we did hear some good comments, so thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, we are going to move to closed session. The next item on the agenda is a closed session pursuant to Minnesota Statute 13D.05, Subdivision 3B. The governing body of a public employer may, by a majority vote in a public meeting, decide to hold a closed meeting for a confidential attorney-client discussion regarding pending litigation in the matter of ISD number 834 versus EN Properties, LLC et al. I will entertain a motion that the meeting will now be closed for the stated purpose. And I'll go ahead and make that motion. And can I get a second? I'll go with Director Kelsenberg. All those in favor of going into closed session, raise your hand and say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we are gonna go to closed session.
Thank you.